Women, what do you think would be the worst thing about being a man? Relationships, getting a date with a woman, finding a significant other, or even just hooking up with a woman, it seems like BS for men. Men are expected to initiate the conversation most of the time, and yet I've known women who will accept dates with men they have no interest in just to get a free meal out of it. I've known women who want men to approach them, but if the man is unattractive to her, he calls them creepy or mocks them for it. Sure, not all women are like this, but you know what happens when I approach a man who isn't interested in me? He says, no thank you. I could easily get a one-night stand if I wanted to. Yeah, if people know about it, I might be called demeaning things or people trying to shame me for it. But I just think about a time when a man approaches a woman in an elevator, gets turned down, and the next day there are news articles about how men shouldn't make women uncomfortable and that conferences need to make an effort to make safe spaces for women. Men are shamed for their sexuality and no one gives a damn. A man who is unhappy in a relationship because he doesn't get to have relations as often as he would like gets to hear how no one owes you one, up and down. He's seen as a piece of trash for even considering leaving the relationship for it. But if I am unhappy in a relationship for any reason, people will happily back me or take my side. While there are people who will shame women and their sexuality, there are just as many people who will try to empower women for being like that. Men? Nah, you're all pigs, potential creeps, and predators. The double standard with parenthood. This is going to the SO route and relates to hookups. If a woman gets pregnant and doesn't want to have a baby, she can get a termination. She can give the child up for adoption, and in some states, she can do the adoption route or even abandonment without the man's permission. And a woman who gets a termination or adoption, well, her body, her choice. But what about the man? A woman gets pregnant and he doesn't want to have the baby. He's a deadbeat. If she keeps the baby, your money is tied to her and the child for years, and you're a deadbeat for even considering anything different. Not only that, but if a man doesn't want to support a kid, then don't get intimate. It's often said in discussions about this, even though the same line is used against women by pro-lifers. It's a gross double standard and a dangerous one, making relationships more tricky for men. It doesn't help that women have a huge variety of contraceptive options available to them, and men only have one that isn't permanent. Marriage is tricky for men. With how easy it is for a woman to leave a marriage and claim a bunch of assets, sometimes get alimony, and take the children, why are men risking marriage? Yes, not every marriage is so clear-cut, and sometimes a woman is making sacrifices for herself, which could make it difficult for her to get back on her feet after a divorce, but come on. Women aren't helpless, delicate flowers anymore. Women aren't solely reliant on their husbands and will be devastated after a divorce, at least not in the United States. And I acknowledge this as someone who is married to a man. Lack of support for those who end up in relationships can come from either gender. Men can experience the same too, but there are so few options out there for men who need help, in addition to people often saying or joking about how he probably deserved it or that he's being weak. Story 2. I'd be afraid to be a male teacher. How easy would it be to give a girl student a failing grade they deserve or just piss them off in any way? But it's a crazy one who ends up accusing you of something awful. While that's specific, it's a general fear. Just the accusation itself will cost you your career. Here are some of our school rules that are put in place to prevent issues, but that the student body is mostly unaware of. A male teacher must not comfort a crying student in any physical manner. Lower himself to eye level when speaking to a student. If an item is dropped, a male teacher mustn't bend down to retrieve it, but may ask a student to do so instead. Correct a student on the details of her uniform, shirt askew or untucked, inappropriate lay of the skirt, but should bring it to the attention of a female coworker post-haste. Return polite chatter from the student. Teacher, your new necktie looks nice. Silence or a nod. No thank you or so does yours, haha. Organize an activity that involves repeated sitting, standing, jumping, running, or stretching. Refuse a student restroom privileges for any reason. The girls abuse this one a lot, but I understand its function. Give the students any item as a token of performance or encouragement. Accept any item from a student. Comment positively or negatively on a student's appearance even if the student has prompted the interaction. Make positive comments on a single student's work or performance anywhere a female teacher isn't present to verify the transaction's nature. So note, good job in improving your math score, Susie, in front of the class when handing out papers, etc. Pass a student on a staircase. A male teacher must iron out trousers in a certain way, triple pleat across the thighs, such that it adequately hides any shape of our masculinity when viewed head on or from the side or when sitting, standing, or rising. Cross the hall when passing a restroom door, such that we do not pass in front of the walkway in front of the restroom door, but pass from the opposite side of the hall. Sit only behind a teacher's desk, never on a regular chair when students are present. Be well groomed and well dressed at all points of the school day. Avoid smoking or consuming foods during the school day that would make their breath offensive. Carry his materials in a basket rather than in his front pockets to avoid needing to pocket check for items around students. I'm sure there are more, but these are most of the more interesting ones. I work at an atypical upper-class young lady finishing school in a foreign country, so a lot of these make sense, I guess. But it still makes you feel like human trash and a waste of person. Oh, and the entire female student body hates your class because you can't relax and be relaxed around them or make the class fun or be laughing and endearing towards them like all of their female teachers can. Story 3. Probably the stigma. I've seen a single father get shouted at for being with his kid when at a park for trying to abduct children. The dude wanted to make his son happy, not do anything to him. I was fishing at a park today and some 8-year-old kid who was alone came up to me and showed me that he broke his line off in the water. He didn't have any extra tackle, so I gave him a new jig and hooked it on for him and everything. It was the cheapest reel and line I've ever seen, so his folks must have picked it up at Walmart and said, "Here, go fish." He wanted to fish with me after that. I didn't want to tell him to get lost because he was looking up to me at that point, so I said, "Sure, if you want to." The entire time I was having a mini panic attack waiting for the kids' parents to show up and kick my butt or something. The kid was super sweet and kept trying to impress me by telling me all the huge fish he caught. Eventually he went away and his folks showed up, and as I was leaving, he pretended not to know me and quickly gave me a stealthy wave. I shouldn't be afraid to help a kid out like that. It's kind of equally sad that the kid knew he just couldn't be friendly to you in front of his parents, even if it was clever and helpful of him. On a related note, this is another friend's story. I was at my local dog park once, and one of my high school senior students was there with her mom and her dog. My student recognized me and came up to say hello. I was wearing shorts, a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a Black Sabbath t-shirt. Anyway, this girl's mom was on a park bench about 50 feet away, and my student and I started chatting like, "So what college are you going to, etc." I cracked a few dad jokes and she's laughing. I looked up and saw her mom staring at me, and she got up and walked over really fast with a strange look on her face. Her mom gets to us and says, "Hey honey, who is this?" in that classic concerned yet polite mom voice. The kid says, "Oh, this is Mr. Y, my AP Environmental Science teacher." Immediately, her mom relaxes, smiles, and says, "Oh, my daughter loves your class so much. So nice to finally meet you." But for 10 seconds, she was like, "Who is this creep talking to my daughter?" Kind of weird, but understandable. It's just a shame that people have to be that way, but I say, don't mind them. If you know the kid and they come up to you, say hi, talk to them. I think that ignoring them because it is awkward is damaging to the kid who doesn't know why their friend suddenly doesn't want anything to do with them. I'd have just made it a point to introduce myself to the parent after saying hi. Story 4. Being arrested for defending myself against a cruel partner. When I was in high school, my dad got remarried to a woman with a ton of emotional baggage. She was verbally cruel and would start fights with anyone who would take the bait. They got into an argument one night and she started to shove him. He put his hands in his jacket pocket so that there could be no confusion about him hitting her. When he refused to engage, she threatened to hurt his kids. He called the cops. They came, listened to the story, and my dad went to jail. She was alone in the house with all of my siblings. I was out of town that night. My dad is a big teddy bear. I've never seen him in trouble with the law until that night. I got him out of jail the next day and then worked with him to send my younger siblings to live with my mom in Utah. And I got an apartment with my next youngest brother. He had a criminal record for having his and his children's lives threatened. That was really messed up. We're all much better off today. That was 16 years ago, so we've had a lot of time to grow and move on. My dad is doing very well for himself and has been remarried for 14 very fulfilling years. At least they're doing much better today, but wow, that's super messed up. We're nearing midway now, and I'm glad to see you're still here, so thank you for that. And if you haven't already, please do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button so you can keep me going telling you these stories. And let's go ahead and get back to them. This is Story 5. I'm not a woman, but imagine pretty much being invisible. You get your self-worth from how well you perform at work, perform well and you're okay day to day, start performing badly and you want to off yourself because your only interaction with people now is negative. Nobody cares about you, nobody messages you, and when someone calls, they want something from you. Now, I don't mind helping, but damn, call me up for a beer or some camping too sometime. The hardest part is when it is only family. Your friends are gone, so you always answer for your family because that's what you do. But it's always, hey man, how was your Memorial Day? If even ask. Hey, Kyle is moving this weekend to college and we'd like to try and get it done in one shot. Are you busy Saturday? Oh, you work? Oh, well, okay. Are you free Sunday? Cool. Well, can you come Sunday then? We'd love to see you. We miss you so much. You never come out and see us. And you agree because you don't go see them because they all get together on Saturdays while you work. So now you feel bad for working and you now lose your day off from being bossed around and unpaid by people who always invite you to stuff that happens on Saturday, then make you feel bad about it, so now you're the a-hole. While all of this happens, while you're carrying the 1,200-pound Bowflex that hasn't been used in the family for 5 years up 5 flights of stairs, none of these people wished you a happy birthday last year. Story 6. The emotional unavailability of others. As a woman, I definitely face a lot of hardships that men don't have to deal with. But when I'm at my point of breaking, sobbing, and being inconsolable, I know I can message one of my friends, usually one of the girls, and cry and rant to them about it, and they will listen to me and really connect with me. They'll tell me how messed up the person who did that is, how difficult it must be to deal with, and how strong I am for persevering in the face of adversity. On the other hand, I've spent my life trying to be a non-judgmental source of venting for my male friends, and I found that basically everyone I'm with ends up either thinking I'm into them romantically or expressing how grateful they are for something they get so little of. Guys are told to just suck it up and push their emotions down, and I think it is harmful to all of us. Honestly, I think this is why so many young guys believe in the friend zone stuff. They befriend a young woman who treats them like she would a female friend, and they get confused because it seems a lot deeper than what they consider a friendship. So they get bitter when the girl complains about her boyfriend but never leaves him, or does leave the boyfriend but doesn't date him despite the emotional investment the boy has in this girl, because they don't realize that, yeah, complaining about their boyfriend is a normal thing young women do with their friends. Sharing their feelings is normal. Being each other's shoulder to cry on is normal. But to the young guy who hasn't experienced this, they can feel like they were taken advantage of, led on, etc. Story 7. There are a lot of things guys do worse than girls. Like, as a woman, I can be a stay-at-home wife and do whatever I want and no one will bat an eye or think I'm a loser. Men can't do this. Maybe there are some out there, but I've never heard of a man being a stay-at-home husband. They would be ridiculed and probably no woman would put up with this. Male chauvinism, it affects men too. There are a lot of people who still mock men for crying, wearing pink, or for the way they treat women. And don't get me started if you, as a man, want to wear some makeup to hide his imperfections. It's like it's expected for men to always be tough and manly. Men are put under so much pressure than women, in work, in life, and everything. Mental health is also taboo for men, apparently. Dating is really hard. We as women want equality and everything, but there are still a lot of women out there unwilling to make the first step and ask the guy out. They are supposed to ask us out and put themselves out there for humiliation and rejection. I know some people can be cruel when rejecting, and women don't endure this as often as men. Random chubbies, I can be excited and no one would know, except I tend to bite my lips and my eyes get a bit more narrow when I am. But men get a chubby even when they're not thinking about something. Story 8. Since all of the general stuff has already been answered, I'm going to talk about specific stuff that would affect me personally. I'd be expected to be friendly with my coworkers. I work in an industry that is incredibly male-dominated and worse, the majority of the men in it have conventionally masculine interests like sports and hunting. I have one male coworker who, like me, is a nerd and has no interest in any of that. He actually gets a hard time for it on occasion while no one bothers with me. It's really easy to make colleagues think you're a nice, sociable person as a woman. Say good morning, smile when you pass in the hall, and say uh-huh when they talk. You don't actually have to go out of your way to connect. The predatory stuff that a lot of people are talking about is something I already have a partial understanding of. I'm a lesbian, and the predatory lesbian stereotype is still a thing in the minds of a lot of not very open-minded people. I'm not particularly butch though, so strangers wouldn't get that impression from me the way they do from men. So continuing with the theme of LGBT issues, I think gay men are more of a public target than gay women. Gay women obviously do get hurt, like that event on that bus in London, but it feels easier to hide that part of yourself if you feel unsafe as a woman. There are all these rules men have in order to not appear too gay. While if a woman is less than conventionally feminine, the first impression is usually not going to be lesbian. Story 9. So I'm not the perfect demographic, and I am a transgender man who passes 100% of the time with a cisgender husband. Here are my observations. First, people are scared of me now. I hate the anxiety women feel in my presence, and I hate knowing I can't do anything about it. It makes me feel awful and guilty even though nothing has occurred directly from my actions. Second, the suck it up and man up mentality is very, very real and exceptionally damaging. My husband has such a hard time being emotionally vulnerable. The second I started passing, I got screamed at by my mother. If you want to be a man so bad, suck up your tears and act like it. Third, I was playing with my younger siblings at the local park. Another couple arrived, and another couple with children. Apparently, any man in the vicinity of a child alone is automatically a what the hell? Fourth, I watched a close friend lose custody of his daughter even though his ex was physically and emotionally cruel to both him and the child. But the state doesn't care and her ovaries are what actually won her custody, and it makes me so goddamn angry. This is a very common trend. Fifth, I'm a white, gay, transgender male married to a Puerto Rican man who is white passing. We are inherently disallowed from complaining in a world that is ever reversing oppression based on justice and equality. There are no more LGBT groups here in which we can say, my father and mother threw me out of my home upon coming out, without someone saying, white gay men want so badly to be oppressed. No, we don't. We just want a sense of congregation and community. Everyone wants to be somewhere safe. 6, men have to work, be breadwinners, etc. The expectation is a complete 180. My mother used to lecture me about cooking for my family, and now, not her, by the way, it's, you work less than 30 hours a week? Who provides for your family? What kind of man are you? 7, I am small and lithe, and I'm not muscular, but I'm trying. It is so hard for men of any shape or size to even express their body insecurities. No one takes them seriously. You've either got to be super skinny or beefy McBarbells, but if you express it, F you for having feelings. 8th, that's the biggest one, feelings. Why are men allowed to express anger and okayness? 9, no one takes your cruelty seriously. And finally, 10th, rejection is really soul-crushing, and as a man, it's generally expected that you step up and suck it up. Story 10. Hands down, always being the villain, a colleague of mine was a bit on the heavier side but decided to get into shape and started jogging. So he jogs around his block daily until his smartwatch tells him his quota for the day is full. That day, he was a bit late but went for a jog when the sun was setting. Not many people out there, but as he was on his way, some girls saw him jogging their way, got scared, and called the cops on him for obviously trying to chase them to hurt them or something. Now, the guy didn't know about the call. He just saw 2 girls seeing him coming, turning around and running away, and he's like, what the hell, until the cops come for him. You know, for the biggest offense in all of human history, trying to get fit, I felt really bad for him. Story 11. Transwoman here. I guess I have a unique perspective because I've lived life on both sides of the coin in many ways. Things that suck about being a guy, you're always expected to be the initiator, the pursuer. You are not permitted by society to be expressive in your appearance. There's an extreme woman-favoring asymmetry in dating apps, which, like it or not, is how many young couples meet nowadays. Compliments are few and far between. Nobody gives a damn about how you feel, nor do they want to hear about it. If you do not have the requisite level of financial success, you are worthless. Nobody wants to be affectionate with you unless you're dating them, and even then, your needs for physical affection are misconstrued as needs for physical relations. Obviously, these aren't all universally true, but for the overwhelming majority of guys, they are. In many ways, being a girl is like playing all of these social aspects of life in easy mode. And there you have it, first-hand experiences from different gender perspectives. Really makes you think, eh? Dive deeper and go watch Men, What Are Some Double Standards You Had to Deal With? For more related content. Story 1 is an eye-opener and I can completely relate. I'll wait for you in that one, and thank you for watching this one.